Now, of course, mainstream historians tell us that the Greeks were the first civilization to figure out that the earth was round in 500 BC, just 2,000 years ago. And before the Greeks figured this out, every single civilization on the earth believed that the earth was flat. All of these civilizations had a flat earth cosmology before the ancient Greeks were able to figure this out. When you actually go back and look for tangible evidence of how these ancient civilizations depicted the earth, real evidence that you can see that the Egyptians, arguably one of the most advanced ancient civilizations that we know of, were using ostrich eggs to depict the earth, spherical ostrich eggs. And it was the Egyptians that potentially gave us the very first globe of the earth. And even though these globes don't map the entire earth, we can clearly see the areas where Egypt would be outlined. They have the pyramids in the exact spot they would be located in northern Africa, what looks like the Nile River, the Red Sea. And then we got that pattern at the top that some people think is Atlantis because of those concentric rings, which some people think are similar to the Atlantis rings that Plato described. But think about it. These rings are at the top of this ancient depiction of the earth. And what do we have beyond North Africa? At the northernmost region of the earth, the Arctic Circle, that line of latitude that separates the rest of the earth from those areas where the sun does not completely set, where you can see the midnight sun, see the sun in the sky for over 24 hours because of that tilt of the earth, tilting those areas, Norway, Sweden, Russia, Greenland, Iceland, tilting those areas toward the sun, and then tilting those areas away from the sun, also giving you those 24 hours of darkness in those areas. It's like they have that Arctic Circle outlined exactly where it would be in the northernmost region of the earth. And then notice you have that second ring right where the North Pole would be, or right where the Arctic Ocean would be. And then right in the middle of that, you have that hole poked into the top of that egg, right at the center of where the North Pole would be on a spherical earth. And you got to wonder, was this simply just done to drain this ostrich egg? Or were the Egyptians trying to depict something that they knew about this specific region of the earth? With it being slightly above North Africa, 4,000 miles up, were they trying to indicate that they knew or had seen something in this region? And we're using one of the first potential depictions of a spherical earth to describe it. We know we had other civilizations that would come down the line and also use the ostrich egg to depict the earth, while also turning them into containers. You got the ones sitting in the museum in the Middle East, and it would just become the norm to use these ostrich eggs to depict the earth until they finally had the entire earth mapped out using these eggs. And we know a lot of civilizations talk about the cosmic egg that everything was supposed to have sprung from or hatched from. And then from that cosmic egg, we get these world eggs, these different worlds within the universe, the earth, the planets, and all the other heavenly bodies, all the other astronomical bodies represent these world eggs hatched from that original cosmic egg. And that's where we get the concept of, Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, one of those world eggs hatched from that original cosmic egg, that spherical object that's like the female womb carrying all the life on the planet. We know we've got that ancient Sumerian tablet, the Sumerian cylinder seal, VA243, which is now sitting in the Berlin Museum, which they say is supposed to depict the king addressing his servants. But you got people that think that there might be more to this. Because when you zoom in on that area between what's supposed to be those two servants, you have that iconography or the placement of those symbols, grouping of those symbols, where it clearly looks like a sun in the center with multiple spherical objects surrounding that sun. Exactly 9 of those spherical objects surrounding the sun, with 2 significantly smaller spherical objects on the side. We know within our solar system, we have 9 planets, or at least for years and years, we had 9 planets. When you add Pluto, which is now considered a dwarf planet. So within this ancient cuneiform, you have 9 spherical objects surrounding what looks like a sun. It's like the 9 planets that are supposed to be orbiting our sun, with each one being different sizes from the other. Just like you have these different size spherical objects surrounding what looks like a sun in this cuneiform. And again, just outside of that, you have those 2 smaller spherical objects. And we know much further out within our solar system, we're supposed to have these dwarf planets that also orbit our sun from a distance, with the 2 closest being the dwarf planet Ceres and Haumea, which again are both orbiting our sun from a far off distance within the solar system. So it's almost like on this cuneiform tablet, we have the ancient Sumerians depicting a layout of the solar system with the sun at the center, the 9 planets orbiting around it, and the 2 innermost dwarf planets sitting just outside that 9 planet system. It's like they already had this depicted over 4,000 years ago, as if they already had this figured out over 4,000 years ago. And of course, all the most prominent scholars claim that it's not depicting the solar system and that it's just some stars around it. Because of course, how could the ancient Sumerians have had this knowledge before the Greeks supposedly figured it out 2,000 years later, while all the other ancient civilizations before the Greeks thought that the earth was flat? But we know that we have that ancient celestial globe, and it's supposed to date back at least 800 years. That was to have been crafted in Egypt and then over time made its way to Jerusalem. And again, you got all the constellations mapped out on this thing, and over 1,000 different stars that when they tested it are relatively where they should be in relation to the stars in the different hemispheres on the earth. And again, this is dating back at least 800 years. And they found this thing in Jerusalem when it was originally supposed to be Egypt. So who really knows how far this thing goes back? But clearly, these ancient people already had knowledge of the celestial sphere, already had knowledge of the constellations, the stars, and how their placement in the sky equated with spherical earth. They had this figured out at least 800 years ago, possibly longer. And this knowledge was obviously spread from Egypt all the way to Jerusalem, all the way to Israel, all the way to the Middle East. So when you look at all this, it's like the ancient people of the past already understood the spherical shape of the earth and already had a strong grasp of astronomical bodies above the earth, and how what they were seeing would only make sense if the earth was a 3-dimensional object, a 360-degree 3-dimensional object. But even with all this, you still have mainstream historians that are telling us that all of these ancient civilizations believed that the earth was a flat 2-dimensional pancake that was stationary, not moving, and that the Greeks came in and figured it out for us, that they used all their knowledge and wisdom to figure out what nobody else could just 2,000 years ago, while all these ancient artifacts are saying something different. And the only proof that these ancient civilizations believed that the earth was flat are words in a history book and cartoon pictures that people pass around on the internet as if it's actual archaeological evidence. So in essence, they flipped it around and they now have the descendants of the people who already knew this information, already had this information figured out. denying the information, denying reality, and denying basic science. Because according to all these different historians, their ancestors didn't believe that. So you got people that already don't trust the establishment, being told that all of their ancestors believed that the earth was a personal pan pizza. And so, of course, that distrust leads them to trusting what they think their ancestors believed, which leads to an abandonment of a massive part of their history, an abandonment of science, an abandonment of honest astronomical observations, an abandonment of truth.